Hello, everybody. It's Sham Sadasivan again. It's the 2nd of March 2022, 7 p.m. India time, and I'm here again with another LinkedIn Live. This one's a bit special in a different way, really. It's because my guest today um met me on LinkedIn. So I know Ashutosh Tiwari through LinkedIn, and not just LinkedIn. I know him through a LinkedIn Live session that we engaged on, and he was on one of our sessions together, and we just started talking, and here we are doing a live together, and we hit it off on a multiple levels, really, talking about career, talking about intersections, talking about doing things differently, mixing, matching, lots of things, really. So I've invited Ashutosh over to have a chat with us about how he has mixed ideas and backgrounds and things to do some interesting things himself. And we'll pursue these ideas with you. So, without much further ado, we'll get started in just a moment. Hi, Ashutosh. Hi, how are you?
Hi Sham, I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. So glad to have you. This has been
Likewise.
this has been amazing. I mean, we actually met on a LinkedIn Live, and here we are doing one ourselves. So I keep telling people to move fast and stop overthinking, do things. So here is a great example. We are here, so that's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
Fantastic.
we connected. So we were connected on LinkedIn for a while,
That's right.
but yeah, I was following you. We had a little bit of interactions on your
That's
the
correct.
post that you do, and after that, after the LinkedIn live, I pinged you. We connected a couple of times over phone calls, Zoom calls. Yeah, it's been amazing. Right? The kind of
Great.
thoughts we had, and the amazing part is that without we realize that there's so much of an overlap in the thought process and everything. Right. So that's amazing. Right.
I know, and that's what makes me kind of really interested in having this conversation with you. And folks, if you're here with us, tell us in the chat where you're calling in from, and if you have questions for us. First of all, say hello and keep telling us if any questions or thoughts you have, and Ashutosh and I will dive into them as we continue. So, Ashutosh, to start with, we've called this session "Finding Magic at Intersections," right? And this is something I keep talking to kind of myself about, and with my clients and people I talk to about that a lot of us tend to kind of maybe stay on the same path or do something for a long time, and there's a lot of it that has been driven by this desire to specialize, starting from, I don't know, a few hundred years ago from the industrial revolution. And we find ourselves in today's world where large part of things are about mixing, matching, including diverse ideas and things, and you have also done many things in your career, and you find yourself in a very different space now. So let's kick off with a discussion around intersections. We'll get to the magic in a minute, but intersections of what, and how have you kind of intersected things in your career?
Sure. So, Sham, for me, the thing is, I have been always been at the intersection. So, one of the things I did was during my graduation, I opted for a combination which was many people found it to be weird. It was maths, computers, and psychology. So,
Wow.
I wanted to intersect and see where does that lead me, right? So, again,
Psychology.
the thing
That's
is,
amazing.
yeah, it was again at that point of time. There were very few universities in India who were offering these kind of courses. That led to a lot of things, the insights over there that I still carry. It's been close to 20 years since I graduated, but yeah, those learnings are still a part of me. So that's where I started from. I moved into in the work wise. I started from the IT services industry, did my MBA. Post that, I moved into management consulting, and then from management consulting, moving into the procurement space. And then again, within the procurement domain, I tried everything. I came a full circle, like you name it, and I have covered that kind of a role. So being outside an organization, being a consultant to organizations, sitting inside the organization, managing a procurement spend of close to 200 crores, to
Wow.
moving into very challenging things of transformation. Right, you have been a part of transformation journey, so you understand.
Sure.
I led a couple of procurement transformation exercises, both India, outside India. So again, tremendous amount of learnings, insights that I got from them, and I kept on, like you said, I kept on moving and pushing the boundaries to see where do things lead me.
Right, right. So, math, science, psychology, MBA, management consulting, inside and outside organizations, procurement, transformation, and you're now, of course, at Geetham University doing work with startups and entrepreneurship, right? There's like a dozen different things on there. So, was this intentional? Did you design this?
So one of my favorite quotes is life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. So
Mm.
yeah, of course, I did a lot of planning, right? Yeah, that is what management teaches you, that yeah, you should plan everything in advance. But yeah, the one thing I did was planning, but other thing was I kept things slightly open. I was flexible. So
Mhm.
whenever I got the opportunities, I was ready to grab them. For example, my transition from the domain in India to outside India. So there was that time it was a very big company, but they were launching themselves in the Middle East. So it was a kind of a startup thing for me. So, but I grabbed it. I moved there. I loved setting up the operations. I loved expanding the business across 3 countries. That was again. So for me, that has been it's a mix of both things. So whenever I do make plans, yeah, I still make a lot of plans. I still love Excel sheets and trackers, but at the same time, I'm also open to whatever life throws at me and see where does that lead me to.
Right, right. This Ashutosh reminds me of something I spoke to with my guest last week, Runa Mehta, CEO of HealthCube, and we were talking about exactly the same thing. That a large part of what happens with us is about this planning, of course, but then being able to be agile and actually move when opportunity does come, right? Because even I feel the same. Not I have planned, but eventually when things actually happen, they happen more by being there in the right place at the right time with the right set of skills, maybe. And even I sometimes did not realize that combination was worth something to somebody, you know?
True, true. Yeah. So you mentioned the last part, which I thought I maybe I'll reserve it for a bit later. But yeah, since you brought it
Sure.
up, so the thing is that last about 3 years or so, I have been quite deeply involved in the startup ecosystem in India. So while I
Mhm.
was in the Middle East, also that time 2016, 17 onwards, I started having some initial conversations to understand the landscape.
Mhm.
I was more interested in the early stage startups, right? Because that's where I personally believed a lot of challenges happen, right?
Mm.
A lot of clarity is required. So that's where people get lost. So I know I interacted with lots and lots of early stage startups at that point of time to understand what are their pain points and see if
Mhm.
based on my generalist experience, I call myself a generalist. I'm not a specialist.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
can I bring something from any of the domains? So I've worked across 10 to 12 domains, be you
Yes.
name it, construction, to chemicals, to real estate, to telecoms, to airlines. I have been jumping across. So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
we
No,
try
let's
to,
let's
yeah,
let's. I really want to talk to you about this generalist versus specialist thing, because you bring so many different skills, so many different experiences, but you're applying them in a pretty specific area, right? So because you're a startup coach, right? Startup slash business coach, so you're helping a certain set of clients, isn't that right?
correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So my current role as a startup coach, again, it's a pretty exciting role. This has been something I picked up based on my gut feel. So I was approached that time by one of the private universities, Geetham University. They have something called the Venture Development Center, where the primary focus is on enabling the students towards having an entrepreneurial mindset, number one. And number two is that the students who are interested to pursue their ideas further, we take them through a framework to do the entire cycle of right from ideation to idea validation to the minimum viable product to launch. We have a very structured framework over there. So again, this is once again I was loving it outside. I got this opportunity, so now I'm taking it one level below. Earlier it was with people who had graduated and all. Now I work very very closely with students, which at both undergraduate as well as postgraduate level. So I
Right,
follow my
right.
two passions here of teaching as well as coaching.
Teaching and coaching, well, similar, same. I do the exact same thing, but probably in a very different setting to you. Yours is sounding really exciting, though. I'll take that offline. Figure out how I could maybe partner
Love.
with you on that thing. Okay, so let's go back to intersections, right? So um, there's one intersection of skill, which is basically the generalists. So many skills, and I am a generalist pretty much entire career. But I call myself more of a serial generalist. That basically I picked up one at a time, and I enjoyed each one and everything that I did. but every time you learn something new, you become the kind of combination of it, right? Because you don't discard what you learned. It just kind of builds on top of it. So there's the whole intersection of various skills while being a generalist, right? And then there's the intersection of the world, real world, where you're helping startups, you're coaching them, you're training them. So I keep thinking, and love your thoughts on this, right? So is it about generalists in terms of who we are, but then specialists in terms of the value we are adding? Because eventually people can only understand one or two things, right? I mean, they don't come to me for 17 things; they come to me for one thing at a time.
Yeah. So for me, the way I look at it is that I'm a journalist because I bring in a lot of perspective from different
Mhm.
industries, different geographies, right?
Yeah.
And working with companies, again, I had the privilege of working as a consultant. So I have worked with companies at the different stages. So companies as small as, let's say, having 20 to 50 CR turnover to mammoth size companies, right? Mammoth, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
talking
yeah.
about billions of dollars of turnover. So I've worked
Mhm.
across. That's where I think that having that broad perspective is where I play the role of a journalist. And then, like you were saying, I have a narrow set of skill sets. Right? So I have
Mhm.
some skill sets wherein coming from the management consulting domain, coming from the idea validation, and also again, like I said, I focus on early stage startups, helping
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
to come up with ideas, validate the ideas, getting the product market fits, and helping them launch their ideas. Right. So that's what I attempt to do.
Excellent. And on the note of talking about what you do, there's a beautiful comment from Krishna Varaba Sagi saying you're the one. I'll leave it there for you to read. It's really
Okay.
nice to have you here.
So Krishna is okay. Thank you so much, Krishna. First of all, Krishna's journey has been amazing. Right? He is a third semester student in engineering in our undergraduate program. So he's an engineering student. He had gone through this entrepreneurship course as part of his first semester. This thing I had taught the
Mhm.
course, and then in the third semester he came back to me with an idea, and he has been working on that idea since December onwards. So it's a journey of
Mm.
about 3 odd months here, but the journey has been amazing. He's working on a
Mm.
very amazing idea, and yeah, Krishna, you can also maybe share your LinkedIn page and let the
Would
people
love
know
to.
that
Would love to.
what you're doing.
Absolutely. Please,
Please share
please.
the company page also, Krishna.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, would love to know more. I'd also like to welcome Rishi, um, Shashidhar, Janvi, Sheetal, and of course Krishna to the room. Thank you so much. And if you are here with us and listening in, we were just getting started. Do say hello. Would love to know who is here with us. Do say hello in the comments. And if you have any thoughts, comments, questions for us, put them in. Ashutosh and I are like dying to have a conversation, dialogue with you. Okay, on
Absolutely.
what? And dialogue on what, right? So Ashutosh and I were discussing earlier, right? We were talking about examples of people who have created magic at these intersections. By the way, Ashutosh, magic is one of my favorite words. My entire kind of logo and what I talk about is basically to create magic at work, because I find it really an interesting way of almost chasing something, something that is not so clear. And magic is something that doesn't quite exist yet, as my ex-boss used to say it, and I find it very invigorating to chase something that doesn't exist. Anyway, so hello to Rajat Sood as well. Um, the examples that you were giving, Ashutosh, you were throwing some examples at me. Do you want to pick any one of your favorite examples?
Absolutely. So one thing is that you say you use the word magic, and
Mhm.
I use the word luck. Right? Kind of in the
Okay.
broadly, we're talking of the same thing. So again, so basically, we are talking of things which are beyond our circle of control.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which can hit us in any direction, and which can have an impact on us in either way. Right. So I am a strong believer of luck playing a role in our lives. So
Okay.
that's one thing I strongly believe, right? So luck and of course preparation. So one of the examples which we are discussing last week was of this very famous person who is now kind of semi-retired. Yeah, he's retired from his active role. He's a philosopher slash teacher slash activist, multiple roles he plays. Nassim Nicholas Taleb. So his journey has been pretty interesting. He started with a academic career. He did his PhD, then he decided to move on to the trading floor. And we are
Mhm.
talking of the trading floor from the 80s. I don't know how many of you have watched Scam 92, right? If you have watched that, so it used to be a trading well, right? So that's where your lung power is what determines whether you'll be able to crack a deal or not, right? So he was at that time, right? So you have to come, shout, scream, lungs out, everything out, and he started from there. And he tried. He was among the very few early people who started to apply quant
Hmm.
into trading. He tried to build his
Indeed,
mathematical
indeed.
formulas
Yeah,
and everything.
yeah.
Right? So he was doing reasonably well. One fine day, what happened was luck gave him like what is it called, a tailwind. Right? So luck gave him that. There was a major crash in the stock markets in the 87 88 period. One single day, he made more money than his entire trading career.
Right.
And this is where he realized the role of luck in life, and that's when he said that okay, this is enough. He coined a term which became quite famous, black swan.
Black Swan
He's
events.
written a
Yes,
beautiful book, one of my favorite.
absolutely.
That's one book I revisit every single year.
I'm gonna
The
put a
name of the
link
book
for
is
everybody here.
Randomness. It's an amazing book. Right? I love that book. I keep revisiting that, keep recommending that. Almost I don't get any commission on the sales, but yeah, still love to keep
Yeah.
recommending that book. Yeah, you can read it and buy it from anywhere you like. But yeah, that's an amazing book which tells us that there are things which happen beyond our control if we are prepared for the scenarios. Typically, what happens is that we define the boundaries and we say anything beyond this is outlier, right? And we are not prepared. If you are able to prepare for the outliers, right? What has happened to us in the last 2 years has been an outlier event. This
Yes.
is not something what anyone was
Not at
expecting.
all. Not at all. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Individuals and companies who were prepared to deal with it, right? Or individuals and companies who were resilient, who were
Mm,
able to pivot, right? Who were able to pivot. They were able to survive the pandemic. Some of them, it was a counter thing. They were able to make a lot of benefit out of that, right? So one
yes,
classic
indeed.
example is Zoom, right? So all we had multiple online conferencing, video conferencing platforms before that. Zoom is the one who was most prepared to leverage it, right? That's where
At that time, absolutely.
at that time, exactly,
That's correct.
they
Yes,
were
yes.
able to do that, and the rest is history. Yes, they were again. If you look
Indeed.
at that period of time, they were able to make a lot of leverage.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
There's this. I don't think this was in Taleb's books, but there's a Harvard study on what is the most important single. I mean, it's very difficult to make it into one single metric, but if you were to, what would be a single metric that would mean the difference between failure and success for startups and organizations, the skill and people and technology and funding. It turns out that timing super important. Right place, right time.
yeah, yeah.
That has a massive part to play. But how does that help, Ashutosh? That's the problem. So, for example, if someone says, "Hey, I want to build a career," and for example, even if you take your own generalisms, right? I'm going to read them out for people who may have joined recently. Computer maths, and I
Computer
can't see
psychology.
maths. Maths, computer psychology, MBA, management consulting, inside outside companies, procurement, transformation, and now you're doing coaching, teaching, and startup entrepreneurship areas. uh, the big question people have, it's all well and good to be kind of prepared and to be, again, Taleb talks about being anti-fragile and being prepared and protecting yourself against the downside. All that is fine, but one challenge I keep getting, Ashutosh, is all this stuff is good on paper, but you tell me today I have to make a choice. I have to pick AI, machine language, data science, put three more things in there, buzzwords in there, and say, what do I pick? How do I choose? What do you how do you approach that, Ashutosh?
So interesting. Thank you, Sham. And again, that's a question that a lot of students come and ask me. Right. So
Yeah,
right now,
yeah.
they keep on asking me. Like you said, there are some very hot words, keywords, buzzwords. Okay, what do I do? Which
Mhm.
direction should I go into? Right. So for me, the way I look at is kind of an hybrid approach. That's something again we were discussing some time back. Was Scott Dilbert had proposed that. It's not my idea, but yeah, he is talking of. Uh, there you have two options in life, right?
That's
Either
correct.
you become a super specialist, right? So you can become a Sachin Tendulkar, you can become a Roger Federer, you name them, right? So you can become one of those, right? So either you take that and I'll be super skillful and super successful doing what I'm doing, or he's saying that pick up a couple of skill sets, right? Maybe 2 to 3 skill sets, and try to be in the top 25 in each of them, right? He's saying that once you are able to do that, and that's where Sham's favorite thing of magic at the intersections happens. So The moment you are able to hit that, and the moment you are able to explore what are the commonalities, you can take things to the next level, right? So,
Yeah.
Sham, if I may, just one example, right? One of
Yes.
my favorite examples. I watch a lot of movies, so again, I'm biased towards movies. There's
Sure.
one producer whose name is Neeraj Gaiwan. So he's from Hyderabad. He did his engineering. Then he moved into MBA. Did his MBA from Symbiosis and moved into marketing. He did typical marketing roles in multiple companies, right? So while he was doing that, he was pursuing one of his passions in parallel, which was watching movies, analyzing movies. So even I used to follow his website long back. That where the name of the website was Passion for Cinema. So
Ah.
this is a website. Passion for Cinema was a website that he was running. He used to slice and dice the movies, right? So he used to do a lot of detailed, very thorough reviews of the movies, very critical reviews of the movies, right? And he was doing it while he was on his job. One fine day, what happened was Anurag Kashyap picked up a couple of articles, and he said
Nice.
that okay, seems interesting. Looks like you are interested into in movies. Would you like to come and work with me? Right. So he
Good.
worked as an AD. So AD is a very fancy term which is given in the movie industry for the person who is doing the donkey job.
Uh, okay,
So
but that's
typically,
that's one of the best ways to get a good break, by the way, right? That's one of the
exactly.
best ways to get a break. Do the donkey
Exactly.
job, get a break.
Yeah, get a
Yeah,
break. So Neeraj Gaiwan took the risk at that time of quitting his job in a well
yeah,
decent job and
very nice.
moving and assisting Anurag Kashyap. Beyond a time, he said, "I want to now do a movie of my own." So
Hmm.
again, he produced Masan. Masan
Yes,
is one of my favorite movies. I can probably have there's one session dedicated to Masan only. We can
Masala.
by
We should
scene
do
and
a
slice.
movie review one day. Absolutely,
I
yes.
would love to. I'm a part of multiple movie like clubs and all that.
Done.
Okay, so I happened to go to Xavier's XIMC
Yeah.
and do a course on script writing as well at one point of time in
Another
India.
thing to my list: script writing. Okay,
So
script
that's when
writing is wow. Okay. Mm.
I started to have those interactions to understand like the entire movie making process, the movie
Wow.
writing process. I was very keen to understand the movie writing process. Although I try I tried to write a bit, but yeah, it never went
Yeah,
to
yeah,
any
yeah.
stage
Yeah.
beyond that. Yeah, but that's what I wanted to pursue. I tried to give it a shot and see can I write a screenplay. Yeah.
Mm.
So like you were saying, Shyam. So one thing is you need to pick up, right? You say I'm interested in let's say 10 things. Fair enough, right? Which are the things in which you'd like to you have to develop your skill sets. You have to maybe take
You
some
just have to
courses.
do it. Yeah.
You have to do it, and then you have that's is where comes the most difficult part. You have to show up, right?
Yeah.
So again, like this, many of you must have heard this concept of open mic, right? So
Yes.
many
Open
places
mic. Yeah.
you go,
You just
they're
turn up
open
and
mic.
speak. Yeah.
Turn up and speak, right? That can be anything. It can be poems, stand up, but who has the courage? So very few people have that courage
To
to
turn
take the
up and
next step. Yeah,
yes,
to
yes,
turn up
yes.
and speak, right? The audience
Correct.
might boo you. They might be very critical. The worse still, the audience might be absolutely indifferent. They don't care. You can come and go, right? So again, do you have the courage to do it? Then do it again. Then do it again. Then do it again till the time you develop that
That's
skill
correct.
set
That's correct.
and the
Yes.
network to see if you can move up.
Yes, yes. I have so many thoughts coming up, but first I want to showcase some comments that are coming through. Dr. Nidhi Mishra says you're like a walking encyclopedia, and I can already see that in just like what 24 minutes already. And of course, we've spoken before, but that's coming out so strongly. Can I just check confirm with you that this is the right person? I just pulled up
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
yes, okay. And Sheetal wants me to write up the list of your all the things that you've done. So I will do that. It's just that my handwriting is terrible, so I'm going to clean it up and I'll definitely Sheetal. If I don't do it, you can hold me to task. Okay.
Absolutely.
Um, here's the
She
thing.
mentioned she's from Pune. She did
Yes,
once in Pune, and someone
yes,
else mentioned Pune. Pune is a lovely city. I moved from Pune to
yeah,
Vizag
lovely,
about a year and a
lovely.
half back. I love the
Yes,
place. So
lovely.
awesome. Two lovely
I have
cities.
never been.
You've never been?
I have
You're
never
missing
been to Pune and I have never been to Goa, which is
it.
nobody
You
believes Goa. Pune, maybe some people will believe, but Goa, people just don't believe. And there are actually quite a few places I've not gone. So I need to make a trip once things are all completely normal soon. Um, my travel plans aside, what's really coming up for me? as you were giving these examples. Um, I'll go back in my own experience with the Dilbert Scott Adams rule, right, that you mentioned. So I'll just kind of go back to the basic of what it is really. It's a rule by Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, where he's trying to resolve the dilemma of should you go super special or should you go general. And general is hard. I mean, if you have what you're doing, Ashutosh, is unbelievable because you have got a list of like 20 things that you do, but then you have distilled it down to something the world understands, right? Actually, I have a bunch of skills, but I do training and coaching, so I've tried to distill it to one or two that the world understands. It doesn't mean that you don't have the other things anymore. I mean, you could probably write a pretty good script, right? But that's not what I need to hear today in this session. So you kind of, right, I always like to say that we need to present ourselves the way the world needs to see us, right? So you do that beautifully. And the Scott Adams idea is that if you want to be the best at something, if you want to be top 1% in something, by definition, 99% of us are not going to be there, right? So if you want to be really good at something, why not be top 25% in two things? Like you said, training and coaching, that's exactly what I do myself. I train and coach myself in a different setting to you. But am I the best trainer in the world? Probably not. Am I the best coach in the world? Probably, definitely not. But am I a very good trainer plus coach? Yes. I'm pretty confident of that. So if we can get to a place where we are good at the intersection, but that intersection should be interesting to others who are willing to, like the whole ikigai model of, is it something interesting? Is it something willing people are willing to pay for? Is it something you will do again and again and again? All of these things are also important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
That's I keep on repeating that thing is, yeah, the Ikigai model is very simply is okay. What are you interested in? What do you
yes.
what is it that you dream about? So you dream about them those things. What is the thing you keep scrolling on your Instagram and everywhere else, right? So
Yes.
what are the things you do over there? That's one thing. Right? Second is that again, are you ready to invest your time and effort in building a skill set over there? Right? Again,
Yes.
yeah. So, okay.
Correct.
Like, for example, I love watching food shows, but am I a good cook? I don't believe so. Others, at least, I believe so, but my friends don't believe so. So, yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, I've thought
So,
the same.
so again, what you like to do, where you can invest your time and effort into building
Yes.
skills. Number three,
Yes.
this then connecting to the real world. That's the word needed. Then you have to show up. Like Sheetal said, she showed up at one of the places. Probably like she tried to like I don't know which where was she, was it a stand up or was it an open mic? But yeah, Sheetal attempted to do that, right?
To do
So
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then last but not the least is that, yeah, if you can make that into something which people are ready to pay you for. So
Correct, correct. And one brilliant. Just remembered a story. One of my mentors, when I used to live in the California and the Silicon Valley, where I started my career, for some reason, after 2 3 years, everyone wants to start a restaurant, an Indian restaurant over there. And we all had that thing, as they say in Hindi, kida. I had a kida to do that. I wanted to do it, and then I went to a friend, mentor, somebody who used to guide me, and he said, "Hey, oh, you want to start a restaurant? Why?" I said, "I like food." And he's like, "Do you also like cleaning dishes?" And I'm like, "No."
no,
But you realize that that is also part of being a restaurateur, right?
it is.
So you have to understand that what is it, you're signing. You want to be a stand-up comedian, but you won't do open mic? No. Right? You gotta put up with all of that.
Absolutely, and you have to that those jokes which seem to be so natural, right? That the person has
Style.
done them 10,000 times, right? The timing is immaculate. You look at any top comedian, right? So he does the timing at microseconds, not even seconds.
Correct, correct. They've practiced everything to the T, right? You
Yeah,
said 10,000. Let's talk about Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours, right? You have to, right? Everyone's got to do it.
you have to.
But um, so again, if listeners are not aware, Malcolm Gladwell wrote about this thing called the 10,000 hour rule. Actually, he himself said he did not mean it this way, but his original interpretation was that if you want to become really good at something, you spend 10,000 hours practicing it. So you want to pick up the piano, you want to be good at tennis, you want to do great LinkedIn lives, you got to do 10,000 of them, right? So things like that. But then Dave Epstein, who wrote the book Range, beautiful book. Every generalist should read that book. He and Malcolm Gladwell actually had this fantastic debate. I watched it. It's absolutely fantastic. Where Gladwell concedes to Dave Epstein that he never meant that you should do 10,000 hours of practice. That's not the point. The point is If you want to become good at something, you should practice. That everybody understands. But the real thing is, uh, as Epstein says, the people who really do well, the 99% of us who do not become that one special 1%, are people who specialize late. That is, they do many things like you have, right? You didn't start your career by saying, I'm going to go into one of these things for the next 50 years. You did not, and there's nothing right or wrong about it. Some people do that, right?
True, true. Yeah. So again, there, but I what I believe, right? Again, that belief has been strengthened with the last 2 years of pandemic. Is that now it is very very difficult unless you are in a super niche area, right? Unless you are into an hyper niche area, right? So you have to have some general skill sets, right? So that
Mhm.
you can adapt, you can move, right? So I'm not saying that you're kicked out from an organization, you have to join any other organization. Even within the organization also there are so many challenges which happen, right?
That's true.
Are you willing to adapt? Are you willing to take them up, right? In your case, Sham, you have, your journey has been amazing, right? You one organization, but you have covered any and everything imagine you can imagine, right? You have covered so many roles within the same organization, some from
Enjoyed it.
as
Yeah.
engineering to HR.
Yes. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. I
So
mean,
how?
it's fascinating to talk about when we talk about intersections, right? I think our brains are really prone to looking at the grass is always greener on the other side thing, right? So we always tend to look outside. I always encourage all my clients to look inside first. And there is huge magic at the intersections of things inside that you're already aware of, but you've not really figured out. So all my shifts internally in my organization, I was at ARM for 18 years. Whenever I did, what happened was I was already pushing the limits on this job and kind of putting one foot into the other job. That's what happened with HR. Was I was already doing so many of the HR things, supporting so many of the HR initiatives, that they were like, he's already here, let's just bring him. So I keep telling people, if you're really interested in something, genuinely, offer your time and energy, and then what will happen is you'll seamlessly move in. And one of my favorite my own kind of phrases is, if you're applying for a job, you're already too late. I keep saying, if you're applying for a job, you're already too late. You need to be
100%.
pulled. They need to call you, and for
Yeah.
that, you need to navigate your way through it. Right?
Correct, correct, correct. Yeah. So, yeah, great point. Again, the personally for me, every single switch, believe it or not, has been only through reference.
Hmm.
Someone within my friend circle, someone who was my senior, who was my juniors. So he just asked me, okay, what are you doing? How do you want to take this? That's how every single switch has been
Absolutely.
till date.
Absolutely.
So that's how it has been, right? And yeah, you mentioned that again. You mentioned a very important point over there, is that if you have a passion, skill set, and why don't you try to first contribute, right? Give to the society, give to everyone else, right? So why don't you first give it without any expectations, right? I keep having so many conversations with so many startups with no expectations, right? I don't even try to pitch them anything at all, right? So I just try to have a genuine conversation with them and see if I can be of any help, right? If
Yeah, yeah,
I can
yeah.
a small 20-minute window, 30-minute window, and have one thing I can do, right? So please, whichever area you are into, right? There's one guy who is from the IT industry. He became very famous. So Sham, you mentioned about this, the magic at the intersections. He used to love playing on Excel, right?
Okay.
So he started to give to the everyone that Excel tips and tricks.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
Kendu.org, or I don't
Okay.
recollect the,
Okay. Huh.
this guy, he opened up this website only on Excel tricks and shortcuts and everything, right? And
Hmm.
now he has switched from his full-time IT career into
To do
full-time.
this. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So
Giving is
there,
very important, isn't it? I mean, giving is so important. I mean, the idea of the emotional deposit that we keep talking about, of offering things until you get the right to receive.
yeah,
I think it's very ingrained in our culture, but probably not in our corporate culture. We need to do more of giving before expecting to receive. So that's
sure,
really great.
sure.
And you get back in really weird and wonderful ways. Like, for example, Krishna has just ordered a copy of my book,
Wow.
which is amazing. Thank you, Krishna. That is. I can assure you that neither Ashutosh or I intended that outcome. But
Shyam, please share the link with all the other audience, right? So please
yes,
do that. And Yeah. So one more
It's
thing is that like what she did. She appeared for an open mic, right? It takes a lot of courage to do that, right? So
mm,
you have to that understanding that yeah, giving back, understanding that you go through a pain. You have to go through a grind, right?
yes,
That what Malcolm Gladwell said, or 10,000 hours. Again, that's just a general reference. So yeah, but you have to go through a grind. It is not easy, right? So you take any profession. Talked about food, right? So again, I was working with a startup in the food cloud kitchen thing in Pune, right? So that is when I started to go at 3 a.m. with that
mhm,
guy, and then we used to go together to the main this market and try to get the fresh produce from there. So again, trying to
wow,
understand that cycle. So what does it take, right? So again, understanding the okay, this is what it is. It takes a lot. It's a very frustrating process, right? Again, and that guy also, he had quit his very corporate-ish job, and he was coming from the advertising industry, right? Very
yeah, yeah,
pretty
yeah,
industry. Yeah. So that guy,
yes,
after him, he was like, no, okay, this is not what I want to do. He
no,
packed up. He was able to get good traction. He was like actually able to sell his business and move into something else. So,
interesting.
but that was a very good thing of like validating. Does it make sense? Is this my calling for the long run? So we went to
Yeah,
the full end
yeah.
together and seeing that does it make sense?
See, this is the big problem right now, right? The problem is this. I think, like, take my parents for example. When they got their first job, there were only like two or three options. Even when I was studying, there was only doctor, lawyer, engineer, or whatever. Few things that we could do professionally. And now, when you look at the list of things, it's too much. So those days, there were fewer options, and then you generally committed for life. Nowadays, we have way too many options, and we still think we are committed to life, but we are not, because there are so many options. So when this 10,000 thing comes up, nobody has the 10,000. If you want to say that, okay, I've been an engineer for 10 years, 15 years, and I want to do something else. And if the advice is you need to practice for 10,000 hours, just can't do it. It's too much,
Too
right?
much.
So this is
So
where we're all getting stuck. So actually speaking, it's probably not 10,000 hours. Let's just say it's 1,000 hours, right? Even then, how do you pick is something that keeps on coming up for me, from people I work with.
sure.
What are your
And
thoughts on how do you pick
forget that 10 hours a week.
10 hours a
I
week?
break
Yes.
it down. I break it down into that when I have those kind of like clarity sessions. I say 10 hours a week. What do you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I do it very similarly. The slight difference is what happens is I have sometimes worked with clients where and I let this play through because only then we actually understand what's going on. I worked with clients where we have spent about 4 weeks discussing which one to pick, and the commitment is only 4 weeks, by the way. So we would have finished one round of one thing. And we have spent time talking about this is the whole Netflix browsing thing. You spend half an hour browsing instead of watching. You could have
Yeah.
watched an episode or something by the time you finish deciding. So one of the biggest things I have learned is to reduce options, is to absolutely reduce. And this is where things like content creation from people who are using influencers and all that online. For example, how did choose StreamYard as the streaming platform? I went online, I did some googling, I spent 10 minutes on it. Somebody had already decided restream StreamYard. I forgot the third one. And I just picked one. Once you have gone to the top three of something, does it really matter which one you pick?
Doesn't. So what you said, I try to again. I put a small word around that. I say that thinking inside the box. Right.
Thinking inside the box. Love it.
You build
Love
the
it.
you build the boundary. Okay, now let's try to
Love it.
now
Love
let's
it.
try to.
Constraints. I'm a huge believer in that also. A lot of people ask me, how do you make decisions? Number one thing is I first decide the box,
Yeah,
decide the or constraints within which I'm functioning.
yeah. So there's
Otherwise,
a
it just
beautiful
becomes too
example
much.
of from Bangalore, right? Dr. Devi Shetty, right? He said that yeah, people cannot afford hard care, right? And there are a lot of people in India which is pretty
I
expensive.
cannot. Yeah,
I want to serve that segment of people. I want to serve a segment of people who cannot pay me a single penny, and still I want to survive as a private limited company, right? I don't want to do charity and open an NGO, right?
absolutely.
He's doing the open heart surgeries, the one of the most complex ones in the world. He's among the top 50 heart surgeons for a particular niche, hyper niche, right? Again, he does surgeries for newborn kids. The heart size is like just in inches, right? He goes and tries to fix a valve or a chamber inside. Insane. So
Exactly.
again, how do you do that? He said that this is my constraint, right? I want to work with people who might be able to pay me very less money. I still want to provide them the best of the heart care services in the world. Now, the most developed of the nations come to him and say that how can I reduce my cardiac surgery costs, right? And so again, thinking inside the box is something highly underrated.
Completely agree. Um, Another analogy that I use sometimes for myself and for others is there are two ways you can create something. One is the way of an artist on a blank canvas. You can be a Picasso, and you can collect like 100 different paints and get a white canvas and start putting stuff on it. Or you can be a sculptor. You can get a massive rock and just chip away at it and throw stuff away. So one is creating by adding, and one is creating by subtracting.
That's right.
I think a lot of us are taught only creation by adding. We are not taught how to subtract. None of us, right? So when we talk about constraints, constraints are about being very clear about the no, right? Like my entire business, I have taken so many decisions on no. So I have the niche. When you, for example, do something like what I do and want to be a niche, you don't create a niche by adding. You create a niche by subtracting, and that is so hard. I mean, do you think we are trained to subtract? I don't think we are.
I don't think
It's
so
very
because
hard.
we again, so we have been told to again think bigger, think outside the box, things outside. So
Yeah.
you have to force, right? That's where my role as a coach comes in, right? So my
Yes.
role as
Exactly.
the biggest thing as a coach is to set the boundaries, making them accountable for that. Okay, so I'll take that responsibility. I'll be connecting, reconnecting. I'll be tracing your trajectory. Like, where are you? Right? What is going good for you? What is going bad for you?
Yeah.
Right? You also, Sham, you work as a coach with up and close up personal with people, right? So again,
That's right.
that's where you also take that thing of okay, I'll be your accountability partner over there. So
That's right.
I do that. So I say that okay, fair enough. I'll let me help you doing that. That's something
Mm.
which I realized that probably I was good at, and that's what now I'm loving in my current role.
Yeah. 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 I love constraints. Where to go, where to live. I mean, the reason I live in this house is because I'm the closest house to the closest gym and the play area in my community. So I said that much laziness I have. If I'm the closest house, I will actually do something, which is true by the way. Even if I was two places away, I would have probably not gone. So constraints are a beautiful thing. I highly advise everyone to.
Absolutely,
Um,
and the pandemic has taught us this, right? So again,
True,
this
very true.
pandemic brought a lot of constraints. People who were able to work within those constraints are very very successful, right? You are a very big example, right? You did a career pivot right in the bang in the middle of the pandemic, right? Again, how crazy is that?
To be honest, it was, for me it was not that hard a decision, because a large part of these things happen way before the event that is visible to the eye. It is
Yep.
like that tip of the iceberg, you see only 10%. So I had decided and I had planned for about a year before that. So and this is the whole Taleb's anti-fragile, right?
I think that taking that leap of faith, it is
Yeah,
end
yeah, yeah, yeah.
end of the day you have to take the leap of faith. Right? It's okay. Are you
Thank you.
prepared to do
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for saying it like that, because I think many of us expect our decisions to be bang on, but they are not. None of these decisions you can actually. And also, sometimes like, for example, I don't use too many kind of famous people's stories in my coaching. I love to hear the stories, I share the stories. Because what happens is we anchor our own experience in their stories.
Yeah.
So, like, nobody can be a Taleb. I mean, Taleb's is gone. What's the for me? Okay, I mean, I'm sure people read autobiographies for many reasons, but I remember when I was in college and somebody gave me Bill Gates's Road Ahead. That was his book, and I was like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would I read Bill Gates? Tell me somebody who came from my place, who went to my school, who is in my college, and he went to where I want to go. I want to hear his or her story. I don't want to hear Gates's story. You know
Very true. Very true. Right. So
So which is where work like what you're doing in college is so useful, because for me, my all my gurus, mentors, coaches have been my seniors from college. Um, I went to Bichpilani 96 to 2001, and I'm still in touch with some people there who helped me through that time and gave me advice, because they are closest to my context. So I think the power of context is very important.
yeah.
No?
Absolutely. Yeah. The power of context. Yeah. So, couple of thoughts on that. So, we were talking a bit on the career transition trajectories and all that. My learnings, my biggest learning, I said that for me, every move has been through referrals only. building networks, right? So
Yeah,
like you
building
said,
network.
that if you are applying for a job, you are too late, right? So
Yeah.
again, building networks is very, very undervalued. Start from as soon as yesterday, right? So you have to start
Yes.
doing, right. Spend, it takes a lot of time and effort. It takes a lot of time and effort to connect, reconnect. I try to do that, right? I try to maintain some kind of a frequency, have genuine conversations, right? Again, that's where,
Absolutely.
okay, where we were. So okay, so where are you now? How are things? How are things moving?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so
And that's why.
yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Please finish that thought.
So that's what I'm saying, that I have been doing that for a very, very long time. It's about 25, 30 odd years. Like I have loved to network, and people have been like across, even their profile continents are separate, right? So they are at other end of the globe, but still we are in touch. We keep on having, maybe at a lesser frequency. Maybe we connect just once a year, right? But yeah, I do love to connect with them just to understand where they are, how things are. You never know. You never know how where will the intersection happen, and what kind
Yeah,
of a magic will that create.
exactly, exactly. And this is where the difference between the planning and the being open to opportunity is very important, I think, because a large part of us wants to solve the problem fully on the plan. But actually, for example, sorry, my handwriting is terrible, but your kind of 15, 20 things that you did, you would not know sitting in a room thinking what the intersection is that is going to be successful or be useful. You do not know that, right? I mean, I didn't know that either
True.
until I went and met the world with it, and the world then responded with something and feedback without these closed loops, right? Without the feedback coming through. And nowadays what's happening is, because of technology, the loop is faster, right? You get feedback super quickly, so you can
Very true.
run through more experiments
Very
and
true.
combine an interesting, instead of planning for 6 months, you should be running 6 1 month experiments.
Absolutely.
And experiment can be exactly like that story you said of being a being doing the donkey work as an intern or whatever. Again, huge respect for interns coming out of college, but I'm saying I have been an intern at 35, and I am advising some of my clients who are 40 plus to go and actually support somebody, be a apprentice, be an intern, learn the craft, start from zero. It
Yeah,
really rewires your brain.
it does. It does. Right. So for me, like when I was in Pune at that time, I spent a lot of time teaching. That gave me a
Mhm.
lot of clarity. Right. I was connecting with college students. I was just walking into colleges, just like that. I'm saying, okay, I am so and so. I would like to connect, speak.
That's it.
Sounds basic. That's what I did. Just randomly, I said, I love to connect. Right. I don't have any expectation. Don't no honor, even nothing. I just give me, if you give me a cup of tea, that's good enough. Right. So
Yes.
if I sponsor a cup of tea, I'm ready to give you 1 hour of time. So I did that. I
Oh,
did
nice.
that. Pune is a lovely place, lots of colleges around. So I interacted, connected with so many students over there, right? And that's where I kept on interacting, gave me a lot of clarity. What is the student community doing? Where are they heading? What are they looking at? It was a great thing, right? But yeah, that is where you have to step
Beautiful.
out of your comfort zones, maybe into something which you may not be liking. So now the boundaries are blurring. So that's the thing you have to keep in mind, right? So now, earlier, to launch a technical product, you needed to be a developer or a coder. Now there are no code platforms, so
No problem.
you can be a tech company without having a CTO.
Coding city. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair enough.
So it's crazy. It's crazy, but that's a fact, right? I know a
It's
couple
a
of
fact.
really good platforms where people
Yeah,
are
yeah.
launching their products. So yeah,
It's a fact.
boundaries are blurring. Yeah,
Yeah. So you're not
yeah,
solving the technology problem, or you're maybe combining things in interesting ways, which is something what people have said about Steve Jobs a lot. But he was not a great technologist, but he was a person wonderful at bringing things together in interesting ways.
orchestration.
Orchestrating it. And there's this beautiful book called The Medici Effect, which talks about how various ideas and diverse ideas can be brought together in beautiful ways. And that is where I really understood the difference between invention and innovation,
Yeah,
right? A lot of us spend a lot of time on inventing. Like I know, I mean, I was in tech for so long. I have a lot of friends with patents to their name. And a patent is not an innovation. A patent is an invention. An invention becomes an innovation when it actually does something for somebody. If it's on a piece of paper, it's just an invention. But once it actually creates some value for somebody, that's when it becomes an invention. And in the same way, I feel like if you're inventing careers, you can't do it in your head. you know you need to go out and actually get something to happen, and that's when we need to go do talk, like you said, network, do some experiments. Otherwise you're just planning, it doesn't do anything. Doesn't
Yeah.
shift the dial.
So interestingly, yesterday was National Science Day, and our entrepreneurship club, which is a student-led body, was having a couple of sessions. So I was a part of one of them, and I was telling them about the same thing. I was telling about what is the difference between research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Right. So you
Fantastic.
one side is very academic, right? Research is very academic. Right.
Yeah.
Innovation is when you try to build some applications, use cases. So you come out from the lab, you say, okay, what does the word mean, right? And then
Yeah.
entrepreneur is a person who is then ready to build a solution upon
Do it.
that and
Yeah.
commercialize it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you start the journey from your classroom. That's why I was telling that you start your journey from your classrooms. Please don't miss your classes. That is what I was telling them. It's important to attend your classes, right?
Yes.
And
And then the
then triggers can happen from anywhere, right? So thousands of
magic
years
is
were falling, right? Newton was not the first person in the world on whose head an
to
apple
see an
fell.
apple. Correct. 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 Correct.
Yeah. So
I used to live in Cambridge, and I have actually, of course, it is not the same tree, but they say that they took a seed from that tree, and then there's an apple tree in the Cambridge Botanical Gardens, which is supposed to be from that apple tree. I have seen it, and I've taken a picture, but I'm not really sure if it's true. But anyway, I wanted to share that. Um, Talking about magic at intersections, that research, labs, and entrepreneurship that you just explained, right? I mean, that is completely true for even designing careers. So the problem is we get stuck in the research phase for career design, where we are just thinking, writing, doing things, surfing on the net for jobs. But then the experimentation in the lab, sending out a CV, standing at the open mic like Sheetal, that is important, right? You got to go stand there, and unless you do that, you're not going to get to that third level, right?
sticking your neck out, right? Very literally sticking your neck out.
Quite literally, and with the risk of it getting cut as well, and
Exactly.
unfortunately, to say it like that.
Yeah,
But
it's not scaring people. Please
yeah,
don't.
yeah. But the
Please try the
likelihood of
second open
actually,
mic also.
yeah, but the likelihood of losing your neck is very low nowadays, right? So you can have safety nets, you could think it through, you can plan it out. It's not that bad a situation.
True, true.
So
It's
you can do
not a
some
beginning.
smaller
Not a
experiments.
beginning. If you keep on, like you said, the experiment. You use the right word. Entrepreneurs do keep on experimenting, right? So they follow a loop of build, measure, learn. I call it the that loop. So they keep on building. They keep on measuring the outcomes. They keep on learn, and they keep looping back. So they
Yeah.
keep on running micro experiments, very, 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 very small experiments. They'll keep on iterating till they hit that sweet spot where they find the good product market fit, and yeah, then they launch. So that's the how smart entrepreneurs work, right? So it's
Indeed.
again, yeah,
Indeed. Well, I mean, what is innovation after all? It's uh, do, fail, iterate, do, fail, iterate.
yeah,
Keep that kind of going on and on and on and on until something clicks. So
yeah.
if we can take that,
Failing fast.
failing fast, yes, not intending to fail, but if you fail quickly, and get on with it.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I don't think many of us feel like that's possible for careers, but it is. And that is why the box is important. Within the box you can fail, no? You don't need to go and fail in your entire big career, but you can go outside, do a small experiment, and some volunteer somewhere, fail, like Toastmasters is a great example. A lot of people who want to learn talk, speech, go and do it at Toastmasters. It's a safe environment. You can fail there. They are there to help you. They are there to support you. So that's a great. I love using Toastmasters as an example of learning by failing and by getting over the anxieties of public speaking. I think they're a great organization.
yeah, that's
Um,
love. And even like you talked of careers, right? Many people they say that yeah, entrepreneurship is not for me. Okay, fair enough, right? But again, in your careers, right, you have to be within the organization. Are you open and receptive, right? Are you open to testing out new things? Like you said, right? You were doing so much of HR stuff. Finally, they realized that probably this is an HR soul stuck
yeah,
in an
why is he
engineering.
not here? That was the why is
So
he not in the team? That was the question,
yeah,
which
so
is
they got
which is a good
confused.
place to be. Yeah, which is
Yeah,
a good place to be. You want to be asked, you want to be pulled. You don't want to be pushing a CV. And I realize that it's not always possible for everybody, but as a philosophy, if you look at it, you'll find a way to kind of
yeah,
apply it.
exactly. So even within the organization, you can try sticking your neck out into something you like to do, right? Why
Absolutely.
not? Ask around and say that can I
Yeah.
do something?
Yeah,
Can I
yeah,
help
yeah.
you? I'm a coder. Can I help you? The finance team or HR team or whatever, right?
Why
So
not?
I
Yeah.
have this skill set, right? Can I do
Um,
this, right?
yeah, put my
I
hand up
I
and do
came
something.
from I was doing delivery management for software products, right? Then I started sticking my neck around into sales, pre-sales, right? So I was doing that. Yeah, I said, okay,
Learn many things. Yes,
let me
yes,
what is the worst thing that can happen? I'm in the same job, and there's nothing bad over there. I was first
yeah.
couple of times I was just sitting in the meetings, keeping my mouth shut, just audience, dumb audience, nothing. I'm making notes.
Just
Then
making notes.
I said, okay, let me try striking some conversations and see how does it go. I asked my seniors that, okay, can you allow me maybe 5 minutes, maybe an intro, maybe the first slide. Can we start from there? Yep, you
Yeah.
can. So within the organization,
Why
there are
not? Why
tremendous
not?
opportunities. There are lots
Why
and
not?
lots of opportunities in even the bigger scale organizations. People think that big scale organizations, your roles are fixed. That's no longer the reality. I have worked
True.
with mammoth organizations, and they are always looking for people who can come and help and support.
Yes, indeed, indeed. People are always looking for good talent, for sure, for sure. I think this might have been the fastest 1 hour of my life. It's been so
Ah,
quick.
even I did not realize it. There were so many conversations happening, so many thoughts getting
Outstanding,
triggered,
outstanding.
some
Um,
inputs from the audience as well.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming. Ashutosh, as we wrap up, what's on your mind? What would you like to leave our audience with?
So my one of my like closing thoughts over here is like, yeah. So like like again going back to Steve Jobs, stay hungry, stay foolish is one thing he said. Yeah. So you have to be hungry for exploring, right? You have to keep on exploring what next, what can I do, what can I do. You have to keep on attempting to break the status quo within yourself, within your team, within your organization, even outside, right? In the broader society terms also. Can you try doing that, right? So stay foolish. Like you have to be little bit of shameless. You have to have little
Yes,
right
yes,
amount
no.
of thick skin in you, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that because you said like we talked about sticking our necks out. So you have to have that courage of okay, I'll try to stick my neck out and see what's the outcome. I don't know, and I should be willing to accept that you don't know,
You
and
don't know.
you learn something, you move on, right? So that's the thing, you
Mm,
don't get stuck, be in motion, right? So that's the only thing. Guys, please, whatever you're doing, right, please keep on exploring, pushing the boundaries. Reach out to Sham, reach out to me if you think either of us can be of
absolutely.
any help to you in
Definitely.
even to bounce some random crazy ideas. I have, trust me, we have gone, both of us have gone through a lot of such conversations. So yeah, please feel free. Yep. And
Thank you.
I am pretty confident that you guys will be doing amazing wherever you are and whatever you're doing.
Brilliant. Ashutosh, thank you for that summary. On the topic of sticking the neck out, I'd like to just share something I've kind of picked up from you today. What I've realized is that magic at the intersections, right? What is up to us is like you shared, like so many different skills that you've picked up. Is you've picked it up by staying hungry, staying foolish, staying open, and you've just kind of gathered all these skills. But I don't think that the magic is in our hands. The magic is in when we put our neck out. The magic comes when we actually put our neck out and the world responds to what the good combinations are. So that's what I'm really picking up here. So, folks, if you're looking to create a career, a portfolio career of different skills, do what Ashutosh did, gather them, and at some point, when you engage with the world, you'll figure out that what the world wants, you'll hear from them when you put your neck out. So, just want to wish everyone all the best, really, and thank you for being with us, Ashutosh. You've been an absolute fascinating conversation, and thank you for your note as well to everybody. Let me put it up there for everyone to see. Um, yes, be in touch and either reach out to Ashutosh or myself, and we send us a message on LinkedIn, or yeah, LinkedIn has other details as well. So find a way to reach us, and we'd love to talk to you. Okay, Ashutosh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sham, and thanks once again everyone for joining in. Yeah. Thank you so much. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Have a nice evening. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Good evening.